Hello everybody, welcome back to another edition of Homemade, and today we are making one of my favorite dishes, and it is chicken and dressing. And this recipe, you all, it is so simple and easy to make. If you don't know how to make it, I promise after this you will. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Now we do want our cornbread initially to have a firm texture, so our cornmeal to flour ratio is a little greater. So we have 1 cup of cornmeal and I have a half a cup of self-rising flour. So I'm just going to start off with my cornbread in this regular 6-inch round pan, and all we're going to put into this is 1 egg. We have about 3/4 cups of milk and 1/3 cup of oil. So we're just going to start off by mixing everything in together. And I already have my oven preheated to 350 degrees. This is a very firm batter. We're going to place this in the oven. It should cook in about 20 minutes on 350 degrees. It's time for us to start preparing our chicken stock. In this stock pot, I do have 12 cups of water. Now, with this broth, I'm not going to really add a lot of salt in it because for our dressing, all of our seasonings, they are going to come in when I actually start to mix the dressing together, and you'll see what I mean. So for my seasonings, in here, I have 2.5 tablespoons of bouillon. I have 2 tablespoons of garlic powder and 2 tablespoons of onion powder. Really, the only salt that's going to be in here is in the bouillon because I don't want to make my dressing overly salty. So I'm going to go ahead, add that in. Now to this chicken stock, I am going to add 1 leg quarter, and I also have a chicken back. That's all I'm going to put in here because, again, this is for a smaller dressing. Now, I am going to freeze the leftover stock, and that is the good thing about this. You can freeze this. It does keep really well for a few months in your freezer as long as you don't unthaw it and then freeze it back. So it does keep. I'm going to make a bigger pot. We're not going to need all of this for our chicken. And to this, I'm also going to add 1 chopped red onion. I'll go ahead and put my meats in. Now I'm just going to put this on the stove and I'm going to let it boil until my chicken does get really tender. And our bread has cooled a little bit. Our stock has cooled. I've deboned my chicken, and I've also chopped up half of a bell pepper, half of an onion, and 2 stalks of celery, and this is in here. We are going to use stovetop stuffing mix, and I just have the chicken flavor. You can get the turkey, it doesn't matter. We are also going to use 1 packet of Lipton onion soup mix. And we are also going to use 1 can of cream of mushroom soup. Now, if you want to use cream of chicken, cream of celery, it's up to you. I'm just going to take my bread out of the pan, and you can see how hard the bread is, and that is the way that I like for it to be, because once we start to add all of the liquid in from the chicken stock, the cream of mushroom, it is going to soften it up. So I just like to kind of break that up just a tad bit. And this is still cornbread dressing. The stuffing just gives it an extra added flavor. Put my soup mix in, and this is the reason why we did not want our chicken stock to be so salty, because we're adding in the other flavors right here. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead, add my Trinity in. Give that a quick stir. And I just like to add things in steps because you want to make sure that everything gets incorporated into your dressing. And at this point, I will add my cream of mushroom in. Once we kind of get that mixed in there really well, we'll go ahead and add in our chicken stock. And the last thing that we're going to add in is our chicken. So I don't measure it. I just like to pour it in and just kind of make sure. We're going to add in. Now, I'm not going to put all of my chicken in because I am going to save some of it to make a chicken gravy to go over my dressing. So I'll just save about that much, and I'll show you how to do that on tomorrow. And if you want your chicken a little smaller, you can shred it a little smaller. That's perfectly fine for me. So at this time, I am going to pour it into my dish. And if you wanted to use a smaller, or should I say longer pan, that is totally fine. I'm just going to use this because I'm going to let it sit overnight. So this is our chicken dressing. I'm going to cover it with foil, let it sit, and I'll come back tomorrow, put it into my oven on 375 degrees. I'll let it cook in there for about 40-45 minutes until my top actually begins to turn golden brown. That's when I'll know that it is actually done. Our dressing has been in the refrigerator overnight. I did take it out for about 5 minutes, just let it sit on the counter just to kind of warm up just a little bit. It is still cold, but I didn't want to put a really cold dressing into the oven. So I'm going to set this in the oven. My oven is preheated to 375 degrees. I'm going to go ahead, put it in there for about 45 minutes. After that 45 minutes, the top should be kind of turning really golden brown. That's what we're looking for. If our top is golden brown, I am going to remove it from the oven. Back, our dressing is out of the oven and it has been resting for a few minutes. Now, I will say I did let it cook for an hour instead of 45 minutes because it was cold. But if you're just putting it in the oven the same day that you make it up, it should take about 45 minutes. Plus, my pan is also kind of deep. So we're going to go ahead and just get a scoop of that. And you see that? Of course, it is super hot. Yep. And it's not too salty. It's really, really seasoned. And that was the reason why we did not put a lot of seasoning into our chicken stock. But, you all, this is so good. Yeah. When you make this, make sure that you drop a picture in the comments. Let me know if you liked the recipe, if you didn't like it, even if it did not turn out the way that you wanted to initially. I know I did not say it earlier, but don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our channel if you want to keep seeing these easy homemade recipes. You all, cooking is as easy or as hard as you make it, but I promise you, if you keep it simple, just be yourself, life can be so much easier in the process. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Homemade. And until next time, continue to be great.